My name is Bek Wheeler. I serve as president of the congregation, so I'm authentic, I think. Okay, let me introduce our topic. A month or so ago, Reverend Andrew handed out postcards to all of us in the sanctuary. On the front, we were to write our home address, and on the back, we were to complete the following sentence. I resolve to approach change and possibility by, and then fill in the blank. Of course, I had to change by to with and do it my way. So you're free to do that also. And then he collected the cards to return to us by snail mail a few weeks later. When the postcard arrived at my house early this month, I appreciated seeing my own words of counsel and encouragement. How about you? And if you didn't do the postcard or don't remember, don't worry, we'll make up for it right here. So even if you don't remember what you wrote, let's consider the question now. What words emerge for you as you consider the statement, I resolve to approach change and possibility by or with? Take a minute and then let's do a short popcorn with you calling out an idea. So what word comes to mind? Let's hear from about a dozen people or so, and I'll start. Curiosity. What comes to your mind? I resolve to approach change and possibility. Openness. Listening. Who's appreciation. Acceptance. Holy curiosity. Open heart, open mind. Excitement. Risk. What? Did you say cats? Like C-A-T? Oh. So we ought to be more flexible and understand associations as they come out. Thank you. Thank you. Curiosity and cats. One or two more. Kabbalah. Kabbalah? Okay. What? Sacred wonder. Sacred wonder. Thank you. Thank you. So what do postcards have to do with today? And that would be everything. Indeed, we are on the cusp of a moment as we discern what it means to be Unitarian Universalist. You know, our 7 principles and sources, they are so familiar. Indeed, these core statements have been with us for nearly 40 years, 2 generations. But now we are 2.5 years into formal study and review as the Unitarian Universalist Association is bringing a proposal to its nationwide congregations, a re-seeing of our faith, of our core faith statements. And that's what I want to explore with you today. The new proposal from the Article 2 Study Commission for revising our principles and sources. And that's why change and possibility are relevant now. As Unitarian Universalists, we honor the change of our earthly seasons from spring to summer, fall, and winter. And oh, when exactly are we getting back to daylight savings time? Only 3 weeks from now. No, really, I'm speaking really of a different turning, a fresh season within Unitarian Universalism itself. For only the second time since our association was formed in 1961, we are re-seeing, re-appraising, and rewriting the statements of what it means to be you. So today, I want to explore what's going on and why, and to encourage you to dip your toes into discerning what it means to be Unitarian Universalist. But don't worry, this is not going to become some wonky, detailed discussion of UU processes, as much as I might love that. We will have several forums for such detail later this spring. I'm doing one on March 26th. But for now, a bit of background and history as context. So, did you know that our 7 principles lie inside the UUA bylaws? What a place for foundational statements. You'd sort of never find them there if you didn't know to look, and they weren't reprinted everywhere. And did you know that the UUA bylaws require that we review and consider revising our principles and sources every 15 years? Boy, are we overdue. Our familiar 7 principles date from 1985. Pam, could you show the 7 principles slide? It'll probably be too small to read, but I'll just, no slide yet. I'm going to quote a few. There we go. Yep, you can't read that, but it gives you the feeling of the layout. Inherent worth and dignity of each person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Our familiar statements that we affirm and promote. But let me telescope back in history a bit. These, our 7 principles and sources, are not the one and only first and always principles. The 1985 principles themselves re-envisioned and recast the first set of principles and sources built when the American Unitarian Association and the Universalist Church of America joined into our single denomination in 1961. Let's look briefly, similarly, at the 1961 principles, and I'll quote some language from there. If we lightly compare the 61 with what came later in 85, we see that many images and sentiments carry over. We see familiar, enduring concepts of dignity, goodwill, free and disciplined search for truth, and the democratic method. These came from 1961 into our 1985 principles. But while these principles from 61 were true to the times of the 1960s and 1970s, these principles no longer reflected the worldview 2 decades later in the 80s. Listen to the images from here. The 61 principles refer to our heritage of love to God and love to man, the dignity of man, ideals of brotherhood, and the cooperation of men of goodwill in every land. My goodness. Whoa. As time passed and culture changed, and we became attuned to issues of sexism and feminism, issues of ecology and the health of our planet, and we needed new ways to express the truths of being Unitarian Universalist. And so in the early 1980s, the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, charged a group to explore revising the principles. At that time, as we worked on articulating our core commitments, we did not see it as wordsmithing, as cherry picking. We did not see it as just changing this or that word, making existing principles simply gender inclusive, removing explicit reference to God or man and brotherhood. No, we took it as a time to rethink what us English people would call major global revision. We saw it as a moment to re-see and re-own what it is to be UU in the era of the 1980s and the next generation to come. The result was our 7 principles and 5 sources. The 6th source, the spiritual teaching of earth-centered traditions, came a decade later in 1995. In some sense, then, the 1961 principles provided both foundation and inspiration for the 1985 articulations as we reconsidered how to voice our truths in our new generation. We were doing no less than reaching for what it means to live UU in the world and in the language and image of that season. So too now. Indeed, 2.5 years ago, in June 2020, the UUA convened a group, the Article 2 Study Commission, to explore and express anew who and how we are UU now. In our era, a time of deep challenges to our earth, to our gay, lesbian, and trans siblings, a time of confronting systemic racism in our society. Pam, please advance to the charge to the commission. So the UUA board, and I will read you key elements, charged the Article 2 Study Commission to center in love and to be truly creative, stating, quote, "There is nothing sacred about the number of principles or sources, nor their specific wordings, nor the way that Article 2 is laid out. We encourage creativity." Close quotes. What is sacred is this living tradition, our commitment to discerning and owning who we are. And so the commission has been hard at work for 2.5 years, taking stock, seeking feedback. They distributed informational videos, sent out 29 different surveys, collected 11,000 responses, held 45 feedback sessions with a total of 4,611 participants. I was one of those every single time for the past year. Then, just this last month, January 2023, the commission submitted their final report and recommendations to the UUA Board of Trustees, their proposal for our foundational statements. I share with you my visualization, and it was handed out to you at the front door if you have that. My visualization improved, of course, by the wizardry of April Kelsey. Thank you. I always, April, yes. So, could you advance the slide, please, Pam? So, I'll talk through this just a little bit and then give you a time to do response. So, notice on this first slide, it's that living its mandate to creativity, the commission proposes that we move from principles and sources to values and inspirations. And actually, I'm going to step away for a moment here. Andrew texted me the other day and says, "I have a prop for you, for the service." It's perfect, you know, this is the flower of values. Okay, so take a moment to look through the proposal. Pam, go to the next slide, please. No, take a moment to look through it yourself on your paper. Notice, and perhaps Pam can put it in the chat if she's not already done so. Notice the familiar ideas and words. Notice the new ideas and words. Just take a moment and read through. We'll have some more time in a few minutes. Share a few of my own thoughts. As I was looking at this, I thought, whoa, it's not a list. It's a circle of values. You can think about the picture at the top that was on the previous slide. A list is a hierarchy. It suggests that it can be complete. A circle removes the intrinsic ordering. This expression invites, actually, Pam, can you go back to the previous slide, please? This expression invites my eye into different pairings. I can read around the circle or go on diagonals, like justice up on the upper left, and transformation. How do those pair together? What do they call me to understand and realize and explore? Equity, upper right, paired with generosity. What does this call me to understand? How could generosity and equity interplay so that each becomes more of itself? I explore, and I am pleased to see that we honor the interdependent web of all existence. Next slide to the text, Pam. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. Previous slide. I am enticed to think about the relationship between values. I return to the value of pluralism. Let's look at pluralism. I like the wording. Sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. That both embodies and extends our current inherent worth and dignity of each person. It explicitly expands our commitment to diversity beyond culture into diversity of experience and diversity of theology. Good. And then look, in the same value, we covenant to learn from each other in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. This interweaves pluralism and our free and responsible search. Again, interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way before, reminding us that we also learn in relation with each other. And so for me, the proposed values draw my eye, mind, and heart. They call me to think, feel, reason, understand, and act. I'm just at the beginning of exploring. Now it's your turn. I'm going to share some wondering questions that you'll think about here. Then we'll have a hymn, and then we'll have some participation from you. But first, just sharing some wondering questions. Pam will advance. I wonder where you experience resistance to re-seeing our 7 principles. I wonder what it would feel like to let go. I wonder what you are curious about regarding the proposed revision. I wonder what inspires you in the proposed values and inspiration. Okay, let me move this. So I have a question up here on the Mentimeter. At home and in the sanctuary, you can go to www.menti.com and use the code 1650-4280. So the question is, and I'm going to repeat this several times. Go to menti.com and the code is 1650-4280. And the question is, what inspires you in the proposed values and inspirations. And here's where you can hold up your document for yourself and continue exploring. Yes, the code is 1650-4280. Aha, interconnectedness inspires. 1650-4280. Continuous change for the good. Ooh, interconnected values, inclusivity, welcoming justice, not a list. Foregrounding values, openness to change, growing faith in relationship, active, centered in love. I am inspired by the current 7 principles and sources, which will continue to be part of our history and who we are. The 7 principles do not go away. Interdependent values. Interdependent web of all existence. The right to flourish and nurturing relationships of care. Active, interdependent values. Allows for expansion. Openness to change. Equity. Focus on love. You can put more than 1 in if you want. We'll go for another 2 minutes. Transformation. I appreciate that the change is building on past values and incorporating updated societal issues. Now I can't get rid of that one. We're just going to leave that there. The right to flourish, dismantling racism. Oops, sorry. Let me go, but let me make sure we're still. Openness to change, rooted in the past wisdom, growing into the future. Working to repair harm and damaged relationships. Words like faith, spirit, covenant. Non-hierarchical, all equally important. Equity, never complete, never perfect. We'll see that in a moment. Covenanting to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. Accountability. All right. The Article 2 Study Commission report is clear, and some of you picked up on this. We are writing this in pencil, not in stone. We are not etching it in stone. Friends, we live in a change of season. We are witnessing one of the defining characteristics of our Unitarian Universalist faith, that of the living tradition. We do not etch our faith in stone precisely because we hold sacred that it must change. As we adapt to new challenges, our expression of what it is to be you likewise embraces new understandings and evolves based on new experiences and connections. In conclusion, come, whoever you are. Join in our journey of discernment, our journey of owning and declaring what it means to be Unitarian Universalist now in the world today for this generation.